guys have told them about Ayanla.
Yeah.
You know she went here, right?
Yeah.
Sleep in the lounge. She don't tell nobody she went here. That is, she got out of law school, right? She doesn't tell anybody she went here.
Yeah, they just yeah, we can see it. That's good.
Okay.
Ready?
All right.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. Our speaker today has spoken for the Urban Bankers Association, the Coalition of 100 Black Women, the National Black MBA Association, and the Summit 2000 Economic Development Conference. Today, she can add Medgar College to the list. She has 15 years experience on Wall Street, was a senior investment consultant for Citicorp, and an international trade officer for Chase. Her writings have appeared in Black Enterprise, Essence, and USA Today, as well as her own books. The book that we invited her to speak about today, Talking Dollars and Making Sense, is a wealth-building guide for African Americans and has been our class guide for the Financial Planning SEEK class. This book is both informative and entertaining while it is helping us to understand our path to our financial goals. And without further delay, I'd like to let our author speak, Ms. Brooke Stevens. Please give her a warm welcome.
Thank you. I like what you said about this, the entertaining part, because the one thing that I find absolutely devastating and awful about Wall Street is money can make it sound so boring. My God. Even when I watch Louis Rouca's on Wall Street Week, I know what he's talking about, and he bores me. So I hate to think of how you feel about it. But the whole point is I want you to get excited about the experience of having, in fact, your wallet is open. Is your bag open? You got any money in there?
Yeah.
How much money you got in there?
Roughly $250.
Oh, ooh, 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 ooh. She was even honest enough to tell me the truth. I love it. Okay, who's got $10? Anybody got $10? You got a $10 bill? Great. Everybody wants to know, what is money? I'm going to show you, and I'm going to tell you what money is. Okay, well, she doesn't have a $10 bill. Give me the 5. I'll give it back to her. We have witnesses. All right. Okay. Everybody here is learning about money, learning about getting a new job, building your skills so that you can go out into the real world and become dynamic earners. Well, 3 ways to earn wealth: stock market, real estate, owning a business. Owning a business is difficult because, you know, it's planning, it's preparation, it's capital output, it's probably saving up a lot, it's doing a business plan, it's getting a loan, all of that. And the financing and planning and preparation can be difficult. Real estate, the same thing. You've got to have a reasonable amount of money to put down. Investing is so much easier than you could ever believe. We were just talking, $50 a month is all you need to get into the game. They may make you think you need $10,000, but you don't. And the reason you have got to start learning to invest is because the only real growth for money today that's easy for the small person to get into is stocks. But where does that money come from? Let's talk about your earning capacity and what money really is, because you often hear the expression, time is money. Well, I'm going to explain that to you. And if I were to ask you, what is your definition of money, what would you tell me? The usual thing that you hear in Webster's, you know, it's a medium of goods and exchange, it's a currency for services, blah, 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 blah. Well, I got news for you. You're wrong. No. I'm going to show you exactly what money is. Let's say, and we'll do this in round numbers, don't anybody get out a calculator. I've already figured out this exercise to make it simple and easy for you. According to the U.S. Census, if you are earning $32,000 a year, that is what you need to qualify for middle class status. Well, I don't know about you, but $32,000 is a little bit difficult to live a middle class life in New York City. It's a beginning, but to really move up, you've got to do more than that. However, what do you really do to get that $32,000 a year? Let's just break this down and make it simple. If you are earning $32,000, let's divide that by the 52 weeks of the year. So you divide 32,000 by 52, and in round numbers, and I said round numbers, you come up with about $600 a week. All right? How many hours a week do you invest in getting that $600 a week? Huh? Oh, come on. You may have a 9-to-5 job, but you don't work 40 hours. How much time do you really put in more than that? What time do you leave the house in the morning? I'm not talking about just the time that you clock in and clock out. Yeah, you leave home 7:30 in the morning, and you probably get back home at 7 o'clock at night. So it's really a 12-hour day. I'm talking about the total time and effort involved in being at the job, not just the 9-to-5 sitting at the desk and showing up. So we're really talking a 12-hour day. So 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, what do we got? It's approximately 60 hours. You divide 60 into 600. How much you working for? So your time really translates into $10 an hour. Now let me give you the bad news. Before taxes. Now, if you live in New York City, you're going to be paying, and earning $32,000. That puts you in 28% tax bracket for the federal. State and city taxes, add another 10.5%, 12%, depends upon how much you earn. New York City is 3%, New York State is 7%, so we're up to 38%, right? We haven't talked about Social Security deduction, the Medicare tax deduction, a little unemployment insurance, some disability insurance, all those other things they deduct. So what are we really talking about now? We're up to about 50% of your salary. So when we started out at $10 an hour, and I said before taxes, what you got left? Time is money. You get it? Basically, your take-home pay at the $32,000 level is $5 an hour. Minimum wage don't look so bad, does it? So even in a glorified management position, you really take home minimum wage scale. So I want everybody to witness, I'm giving her money back. The point is, I want you to develop that money mentality so that you see when you spend, what are you really doing with your money? So now, with that understanding of $5 being really what you're bringing home on an hourly basis, a $50 bag of groceries is 10 hours of your life. Think of it that way. A $600 convertible sofa from Jennifer Convertibles, divide that by $5. What do you got? That's 120 hours of your life to pay for that sofa. So what happens when you add credit card interest to all this? You just tacked on another 20%. Because when you compound it with the fees, maybe for a late fee, I think the late fee is now up to like $15, $25 if that check doesn't get in on time. Average interest rate today is 18.1% on a credit card. What are you doing when you use credit so much? You are mortgaging your future to buy stuff you probably don't need with money you don't have yet. So think about it. I want you to really begin to think, how much of your time and your money do you want to invest towards your future well-being? Notice I did not say anything about retirement planning, but that's really what this is about. And the reason you have got to start thinking long-term is we are now living in a period where between good health services, being able to eat well and take care of ourselves and have a greater choice of how we use our money, most people are going to live to be at least 80, 90 years old. I mean, I got a mother who's 84 and she's in good health. She doesn't look like she's going anywhere anytime soon. She has not worked for 20 years though. She retired at 64, my father died, and she said, okay, I've had enough, I'm going to stay home. and she was only about 5 months away from qualifying for her 65 retirement anyway. So she has quit, but she's comfortable because she has saved and done some investing. Mom is still too conservative as far as I'm concerned. But the point is, we need to really get more serious about investing, because the thing I hear constantly is the African American has $400 billion of consumer spending. Well, that's wonderful, but do we want to really look at us being such spenders as being something to be proud of? No. When we really achieve what we want in this community, it's going to be about us using at least half of that to be investors. Because we are talking so much today about economic development in our community, it's not going to come from a government program. It's not going to come from some magic, mandate from the president. It's going to be each and every one of us using our money more carefully, making some educated choices about where to invest and save. And the first thing you should do, above all else, is educate yourself about money. We live in a period now where there is no reason to not know. I know that we also come from an era and a people where we just never had it. The whole thing was, back in the 30s and 40s, we just didn't have a whole lot of it. Yes, I have given you a lot of entrepreneurs and historical figures in my book, and I want those people to be role models to you. People like A.G. Gaston, Madam Walker, Maggie Lena Walker, who started the first bank. We need to know that those people were there and sort of reconnect with the fact that the real growth for us as people is going to be a serious commitment to economic development that comes from our own initiative of starting a business and building some income, say even on a part-time basis while you're still in school. You can sell Avon. You can tell Mary Kay. There are all these different kinds of programs that you can do on a part-time basis. I'm sure that you can work part-time even in various jobs or a bookstore or something and earn that extra money. There are ways to build that, and don't wait until you got a big chunk, because everybody seems to think that I cannot start investing until I've got this big chunk of money. First, I've got to pay off all of my debts. Then I've got to get rid of the student loans. Then I have to save up $20,000 and buy the house. Well, you manage to do a lot of things simultaneously in your life when you are working on other situations. Why can't you do the same thing with your money? You don't wait until one thing is completed, because the truth of the matter is, I hate to say it, we as Americans are probably going to die having a Visa bill in the mailbox. So, as I was saying, you have got to find a way to create a savings and an investing plan and just put it on automatic pilot. Now, there are ways to do this. There are more than 9,000 mutual funds out there. What I have given you in the book is a list of about 20 where you can start as simple as $50 a month. And why are we afraid of investing? Because we don't know. Let me simplify investing for you. Investing is looking around your closet, looking around your house, go through your kitchen and your bathroom, and see where you spend your money. Now let's just take an inventory and think about it. Just visualize for a moment. What have you got in the bathroom? Let's see, Crest toothpaste, Secret deodorant, Charmin toilet paper, Safeguard soap, some Aleve pain reliever when the world is a headache to you. What else? Right, Scope mouthwash or whatever. Look in the kitchen. You've got Dawn dishwashing liquid, Bounty paper towels, and everybody out here is loyal to Tide as a detergent. Then, who manufactures all those products I mentioned? Procter & Gamble. If you spend that much on all those products with Procter & Gamble, you should be investing with Procter & Gamble. And don't get into this whole thing about worrying about, well, I don't know whether they're going to be in business. Come on, you still buying the products, right? That's how a company stays in business. P&G has been around since 1891. I think they're going to still be here. So that's how you get to be familiar with the concept. And they also have what is called a dividend reinvestment plan, where you as the shareholder can buy directly from the company, starting with, I think it's $250 to open an account, and after that, $100 a month. There are a lot of companies like that. Think about what else you've got in the refrigerator. Jimmy Dean sausage? Well, guess who owns Jimmy Dean? Not Jimmy Dean. He's got his name on it, but like everybody else, you start a business and somebody buys you out. Sara Lee owns Jimmy Dean. Sara Lee also owns something else that all of us ladies are into. Pantyhose. Yeah. Hanes pantyhose, ballet underwear, Coach bags. All of those are owned by Sara Lee. Lady Foot Locker, all of these are owned by Sara Lee. So you see, you look around and see where you are spending and get into that. I recommend this as an exercise. Just spend a whole day, just Saturday, think about it. Now, what bills do you pay? What's the first bill you pay every month other than the rent? And what do you pay after that? Phone bill. Yes. AT&T, Bell Atlantic, they've all got dividend reinvestment plans where you can invest $50 or $100 a month. Buy one share. And believe me, you're going to pay that phone bill. The next two bills you're going to pay, especially if you live in Brooklyn, Brooklyn Union Gas and Con Edison. Right. Brooklyn Union Gas, $25 a month to invest. Con Edison, $50 a month to invest in their stock plan. This is how you start. Some of these companies you have to buy one share through a stockbroker, but you can get started with that one share, and when you own that share, then you can build a portfolio for yourself. And building a portfolio, like I said, starts with just looking at how you spend. I mean, you're going to keep spending, writing that bill, check to Con Edison. And for me, it's a Sunday night ritual. I'm on some Sunday night bill payers. Get that little stack of bills together and then get the checkbook and sit down and say, okay, now what do we got and what are we going to do? And I get my statement every quarter from Con Edison and from Brooklyn Union Gas, and I just tear off a little coupon at the bottom of my monthly statement, and it looks just like a bill that you pay. Well, you stick it right in there with the bills to pay. It's called paying myself. And this whole thing of paying yourself is something that we have forgotten to do. Who are you working for besides you? I don't think you came into the world to take care of Visa and Citibank and MetLife and Con Edison first. No. Your whole purpose for working is to give yourself a comfortable life, and that comes from you having the discipline to just take it off the top. Now, if you have a job where you are getting a regular salary, I believe that you also have the option to sign up for payroll savings, right? Good. Do it. Just do it. Don't make excuses and say, well, I can't afford it. Honey, you can't afford not to. Because we've reached a point now where Social Security is not going to be enough, and the whole reason that 401k plans and IRAs have been created is this is the government's message to us that they're not going to take care of us. And unless you start doing it for yourself, nobody's going to be there. And it's kind of late when you get to be 66, 68 years old to be going over to Burger King or McDonald's and getting a job bussing tables. But unfortunately, I'm sure you go around and you see a lot of senior citizens in there with those jobs. That's because they never saved enough, they didn't put anything aside, and it's kind of late at 68 to start thinking about, well, now where am I going to invest for retirement? So the point is, start early and create something a little bit at a time. And I want you to look at where you spend now, because these are products and services that are going to be around probably for a good 25 or 30 years. And many of them are older companies that, regardless of whether there's a recession, regardless of whether there's a war, or, hey, Bill Clinton being impeached, the companies will still be there. Because companies like IBM, which have gone through several cycles of growth, they know. And the truth is, if you understand how they function, they'll sell their grandmothers to keep that company in business. Because the whole point and purpose is to keep the business going. Build the company, and You are going to be buying the products. How many people here own computers? Okay. Are you as dedicated as I am to using your computer every day? Yep. Then get involved in it, and right now, yes, everything in technology is hot. But I would suggest that if you're going to do technology investing, don't pick one company. This is where you choose a mutual fund that has a special purpose and direction called science and technology stocks. I don't know the difference between Intel and Microsun Systems or Cisco. I really couldn't explain it to you. You know, Omega may sound good, but who am I to know whether their product really is unique compared to whatever else is out there? This is the instance where you hire a person who is a fund manager who has a mutual fund that specializes in science and technology. And one of the best out there is the Science and Technology Fund from T. Rowe Price. You can do automatic investing into that kind of fund. But we need to get more serious about being involved in this and just talk more about it. I, for one, feel like I'm sometimes alone out here wondering whether people are listening. Because we somehow are reluctant to open up and discuss money. But if you look around, white people talk about money all the time. And I noticed the difference when I had two different secretaries, two different temp secretaries in the time that I was working. One young lady, she didn't know, all she wanted to know is when do I get paid, because I want to go out here and get my hair done, get my nails done. What we spend on hair and nails, you just cut it in half and put the other half of that money each month into an investment, you can retire rich. It's not that hard. It's called shifting your priorities towards something that's going to create some value in your life. I don't think that hair and nails are going to create long-term value. However, put it this way, the average black woman, I believe, spends about $150 a month on the hair and the nails. Yes. Think about it. If you're going in every week or every other week, you're spending anywhere from $40, $50 a week. And if you got these braids, you're getting those done or something. Believe me, this can add up. Why do you think I got this haircut? I had dreads long enough to find out it was costing me about $200 a month to keep them looking nice. I said, this has got to go. Oh, no. I don't have time for this, it costs too much. It's only hair. This is not the total essence of who I am. And as one friend of mine was saying to me, we used to hang out on Sunday afternoons going shopping, or rather she would do the buying and I would do the looking. And we'd go to boutiques and we'd have a good time. She would try on clothes and I would play with the jewelry, and I would just love going in the dressing room, and I would look at it, and the sales girl would say, now you just love that red dress. Everybody needs another red dress. I said, no, I don't. I got enough clothes in the closet. I don't need another one. I remember Doris said to me, because I tried on this gorgeous pair of black and onyx and silver earrings, like $90. And she said, now I know you're going to get those. I said, well, honey, you know, 3 shares of Con Edison at $30 a share is the equivalent of these $90 earrings, and they pay 7% dividends. Which one do you think I'm going to invest in? This is what it means to start having that mentality. So, you know, after a while, you get a few dividend checks, then you can go out and buy those earrings. And we have got to learn the delayed gratification of waiting for that money to build. I'll give you an example which nobody believes, and I swear this is true. I will say this. If you had bought 1 share of Coca-Cola in 1913, just 1 share, so your grandmother was there and she was smart enough to take, say, part of the wedding money or her birthday money and buy 1 share of Coca-Cola in 1913 when the company went public. And she kept that 1 share of stock for 75 years. What would that share be worth today? Just take a guess. You're halfway there. 1 share. She said a couple of million, and I said, you're only halfway there. Yes. One share of stock at $40 a share with all the dividends reinvested and the stock splits over time and buying new shares with the dividends. See, because the dividend may sound kind of paltry. It's like, it's only making 5 or 6 cents, 15, 20 cents per share. That's not a whole lot. Over time, all that reinvestment, $5,156,412.46. And that one share would have turned into 4,332 shares. 90% of the growth came from reinvesting those dividends. 90%. Which means postponing some of that gratification so that you move on to have something to pass on to the next generation. Even if you wanted to cash in part of it, if you had not taken the dividends and reinvested them, you would still have 512 shares because of all the stock splits, and they would be worth about $422,000. Think about it. Long-term investing does work, and it does not take an awful lot to start. Now, I want to shift emphasis for a minute and talk about something else which is constantly missold and mismanaged and quite misunderstood in the black community. Life insurance. Oh, yeah. Let's be clear. If you do not have children, if you do not have a mortgage, if you do not have debts and responsibilities, if you do not have anyone who is going to starve and die if you drop dead tomorrow, you do not need life insurance, okay? Life insurance is not an investment. The only reason to buy life insurance is to have the replacement for your income in the family so that you can take care of your obligations and your responsibilities to your family. And there's no set rule on how much you need. You hear these industry averages, 5 times your salary, 8 times your salary. Well, if you've got a good retirement plan, then the family's going to inherit the retirement plan. If you've got some good benefits at work, they're going to get that. And the best place for you to really buy life insurance, believe it or not, is not from a life insurance agent. I think I just broke some hearts and surprised some people. The bank has savings bank life insurance. That's about the cheapest out here. You can also search for it on the internet. You can call up these 800 numbers that I've given you in the book, Consumer Quote or Master Quote or Direct Quote, and they will give you the best advantage that you can find on shopping for life insurance. Term insurance still is the best place to get insurance, and it's the cheapest because what you really want is the maximum amount for the least amount of money. And you know why a life insurance agent is not going to tell you that? They don't make any money on selling term. That's the problem. So you're making $40,000 a year. You die tomorrow and your kids are like 10 years old and you've got a $100,000 mortgage, then that means that you really need to have about $500,000 worth of life insurance, minimum. You cannot afford that if you're buying whole life. $500,000 of whole life for a 35-year-old will cost you probably about $1,500 a year. $500,000 of term insurance for a 35-year-old will probably cost you about $500 a year. Which one do you want to buy? Exactly. You want the most for the least amount. And you can buy this on a 10-year or 20-year basis. And the real goal is to die without having any life insurance unless you want to pass on extra money. What you really want to die with is some good real estate investments and some good stocks and a good 401k plan or retirement plan or even owning a business or something. And I think you need to look at the fact that this is a learning process. As your life goals change, your investments are going to change, your needs are going to change, your insurance focus is going to change. And I really want you to begin to realize that Every day that you explore new options, you are expanding your awareness of what you can do with money. It becomes a fascinating, exciting game. And the game is only going to get more exciting. Now, right now, people are asking me, what are we going to be doing over the next 6 months or year? I think the country's headed into a recession. The Asian crisis is going to catch up with us. What's happening in Japan and all the Asian markets, they slowly will have a trickle-down effect on us. I think we're going to see it because, let's face it, many of these major companies that we talk about and buy and invest in and all their products, most of them have already become international companies. I mean, Procter & Gamble, Colgate, IBM, all of them depend on anywhere from 30 to 40% of their sales coming from an international basis. So, if the international market has slowed down, what's the general effect? Then the corporation is going to slow down. You're going to see it in earnings. You're going to see it in the dividends. That's another reason that Alan Greenspan lowered the interest rate, because companies function just like you do. They got to pay their bills. If they're paying more in credit and interest charges, then that's less to pay out for dividends. That's why the stock market always freaks out whenever he changes the interest rate. You notice that, interest rates go up 0.5%, stock market drops 20 points, 100 points. That's because they see that there will be less money available to distribute to the shareholders as dividends. There will also be less money around for development and expansion into new markets. So I believe that this is also a good time to study the market and decide what you will buy, because here's something I want you to believe. 1987, the stock market crashed. Everybody freaked out. The smart people who realize one major fact that I want you to understand: money has its own rules. Money does not have any emotions. Money does not operate on fear. If you learn to be very, very fact-oriented in your financial decisions, you will look at every drop in the market as a wonderful chance to buy in on companies that are at low prices that you might not see again. And any kind of recession, how long did that 87 crash last? If you had stayed in the market, you would have seen your money recover within 15 months. And it is not going to change. Yes, we had a slight drop in July and then again in October. What's happened again? It's back up. So the market always goes like this. You can always see that effect of, a dip and then a spike. The dips and spikes, that's what they talk about. Or the peaks and valleys, however you want to interpret it. That's where we're going to go, and you got to learn to ride with that. Because the long-term effect, put it this way, if you had put $1,000 into a savings account in 1990, the beginning of this bull market, how much would you have now, considering that the average interest rate has only been about 4%? Maybe you would have $2,000. It might have doubled by now. You know how you figure it out? You know what the rule of 72 is? Okay. How long would it take your money? The rule of 72 is one of these weird bankers' formulas. Don't ask where it came from. I don't know. It works. Take the number 72. Divide that 4% interest into 72. What do you get? 15. So $1,000 beginning in 1990 wouldn't even be $2,000 yet, because the average interest rate since then has been 4% on savings accounts, and even lower. So $1,000 would take 15 years to become $2,000. However, $1,000 invested in the stock market, if you use what is called the S&P 500 index, following the S&P index, the S&P is the index of the 500 largest, most successful companies in the U.S. If you had invested in those and they have been fluctuating between 15 and 18%, by now your $1,000 would be close to $5,000. Where do you want your money to be? And if you look at, everybody wants to figure out, can I do better than the average? What's wrong with just doing the average? If the average is 15%, isn't that good enough? Considering that the alternative is 3 or 4% in the bank? So be comfortable with just being average. Because even the last 20 years with the dip in 1987, if you just look at the last 20 years from 1978 to 1998, the total growth in the market has averaged out to be about 20% a year. The average growth in money in the bank has only been about 6% a year over the last 20 years. That's more than 3 times your money. So taking the long-term view is really the best place to begin. And I want to get you to understand how this affects your own personal life. Now, I'm one of the lucky ones, lucky in the sense that I learned and I invested early and I started early. But the real purpose that you invest, and I'll tell you my own personal story, you want to do this so that when things get rough out there and you either get sick of the relationship you're in or the job you have, you can turn around and say, I don't need to do this anymore. Personally, I started on Wall Street in 1972 when there were no black women down there doing anything except serving lunch and taking dictation and maybe vacuuming the carpet at night. They don't welcome you with open arms, but don't wait for that. You learn what you can, you stay with it, and you get what you can, and you move on. I learned how to use the tools and information that Wall Street has to offer, and I learned a work ethic there that I have never gotten anyplace else. And the work ethic has been incredible for me. I had a boss who, in some instances, people would say was one of the meanest SOSs out here. However, he taught me something that I have never forgotten. And he had a little sign on his desk, and I encourage you to, put this on your bathroom window, mirror, whatever, on your computer, terminal, whatever. The question was, can you make something happen today? And he really lived by that. We would start, 9:01, you were in his office, and it was like, okay, what have we got to do today? And every person had to recite what they were working on and what steps they were going to take to move that project forward. And you really begin to break down everything that you do on a daily basis and see how you are either building a project or building investment. And this was, either creating loan programs or setting up investment plans or either creating, I worked on the Nigerian government industrial development loan. It took 2 years to put that together. But he taught me how to break down a $5 billion loan syndication into daily steps, a little bit at a time, so that over time you saw how a deal got pulled together. And at the end of the day, he wanted to know, what did you accomplish? And why did you have a problem with the stuff that you were supposed to do? And the other thing he emphasized very clearly, there are more hours after 5 o'clock than between 9 and 5. And the answer he gave us was, I don't care how you get it done. All I know is if I give you a proposal on Wednesday and I tell you that I need it by 10 o'clock Monday, you can sleep here if you want. We'll supply lunch. We'll give you a limo to take you home at night so you can take a shower and come back. But this is how Wall Street works. And the work ethic of making something happen is what I have seen us forget. One of the things I see is we talk about wanting to do something, but it's like, put the money there, put the energy there. Are you moving forward in a straight line towards a goal, or are you going in a circle and just kind of stirring up dust? And this is where you need to do this reanalysis of your own function, and are you moving forward with your financial life? Reviewing your personal financial situation means, am I being honest with myself about what I'm doing and how I'm spending, or am I really just, kidding myself? And I hear it all the time. Well, I can't find the money. Yes, you can. The simple step is this. Are you getting income? And you sit down. I ask people 3 questions. How much is coming in? How much is going out? What happened to the rest of it that you don't understand? The mystery money. That mystery money for the average person ends up being 20% of their income that they can't account for. That 20% is where you can start an investing and savings program. Now, I know you're all sitting here with questions, and I'm glad to take those. It is 2:30. Mr. Foster told me I could stop at 2:30 and start answering questions. So I hope you've got questions. I want to see hands in the air. Yes, ma'am.
I recently invested in some mutual funds, but the person that I invested with, it was at a bank, and now he moved to a different location. My family members discouraged me to, but he said all I'll really be doing is like, he says like something like moving the stock to, instead of it being on the bank, it'll be under his control.
No.
Do you think that's a good idea?
Well, first of all, I think what you need to understand is the account does not belong to him as account manager.
Right.
He may have his name on it as the broker who opened the account for you, but the relationship is really between you and the bank, or whoever the fund manager is. You mind telling us which funds there were?
It's blue chip stock, but
You still haven't told me the fund company.
Putnam broke.
Okay, you don't even need him to discuss that with Putnam. Putnam is a great big Boston-managed mutual fund company. If there's an 800 number on there, you can continue to talk to Putnam and invest in it. You see, the relationship really is between you and your money and who the investment company is. The broker who is no longer there, don't worry about it. If the investment works for you, if it's achieving your goal, then you can keep doing it. And Putnam is a very good company. You just haven't told me which mutual fund it is.
Well, I'm not really sure either myself.
Big mistake!
Okay.
Big mistake!
Well, I inherited the...
No, hold it. Don't take it personal.
Okay.
But this is the first thing we do. We trust somebody to make all these decisions for us, and if you don't know yourself what it is, you're making a mistake, because ultimately it's your own money. It would only take you 5 or 10 minutes to sit down and really read that prospectus and see what you've got. Call the 800 number and ask them. Just say, you know, I inherited this. I need somebody to explain to me what it is. That's all. But you need to know where your money is, and is it working for you, and is this what you really want to do? Okay? It's all right that he's not there. Just look at your statement and call the 800 number and talk to the customer service division. They're open 24 hours a day.
Something else you were touching on.
Okay, write it down and come back. Okay, next. Come on, you guys too quiet. Yes.
Yes, I have a question. I came in late and I apologize. I must have missed the discussion here, but towards the end, you were talking about if your supervisor gave you a project,
Mm-hmm.
to staying there, night and day,
Uh-huh.
whatever, to get that done. What I would like to know is, what is that first step? This is a very broad question, but what is that first step? Because I'm trying to get into that now, but when you look in the New York Times on Sundays, you see stockbroker training will train for Series 7, Series 63. You see on Wall Street, this, that, and the other. And what some say, tuition reimbursement, some say college grad.
Mm-hmm.
They will train you with, I would like to know what is the first step to get into there, to work hard, to get the responsibility.
Have you answered any of those ads and gone for any interviews?
No.
Then that's the first step. That's the first step.
What I'm saying, the requirements for it, because I have a friend who works for a company, he does new accounts and stuff like that.
Which company is he with?
Marine Midland Bank is taken over by HSBC, I believe.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And he opens up new accounts for them now.
Is he a banker or is he a broker? Big difference.
I think, no, I think his responsibility is opening up new accounts. I'm not sure.
Yes, but new accounts can mean a lot of different things. Are they checking accounts or are they investment accounts?
Maybe they're investment, I believe.
Does he have a license as a stockbroker?
No.
Okay, then he's not doing brokerage accounts. Because the truth of the matter is the SEC is so tight on the regulation of these accounts, Those other people in the bank, they cannot even touch the investment material. They are not supposed to even give you a brochure unless they are licensed as brokers. They're breaking the law if they even do that. If you want to get into this business, first thing you do is answer those ads. Go to some interviews and see what they're like. All of these companies are usually having job fairs anyway. Go to one, meet some people, talk to them. I would suggest that if you're a student, see about getting a summer internships. Those are invaluable for finding out how this whole game works. And believe me, Wall Street is one of the most competitive games that you're ever going to get into. And like I said, if you can give the first 2 years of your life to working really hard, and I mean really hard, you will find many of you may even know about people who have jobs as word processors working the night shift from midnight to 8. There's usually somebody like me who was there cranking out a proposal that needed to be done by them. Wall Street works 24 hours a day. The stock market may only be open from 9:30 to 4. But that's the kind of commitment that you have to make. Start learning, analyzing, reading everything you can, not just my book, but Money Magazine. Go on the internet, pull off as much information as you can, really understanding how investments work. And I'll tell you what the goal is and what the income potential is. If you were to start as a securities analyst in a training program, not as a stockbroker, that's an entirely different thing. A securities analyst is a person who does the research, who studies an industry, studies a company, puts together the financial statements, and understands how a company operates and makes those projections and predictions for earnings. The whole industry survives on those projections and predictions. I started as an analyst. That's why you got to crunch the numbers and learn to eat, sleep, and live with numbers and financial ratios. You get into that and you really start learning how to do those projections, your training salary will start at $75,000. If you survive the 2-year process and become a junior analyst, your income will be an average of $250,000 a year. That is before the year-end bonus. You hear about the bonuses on Wall Street? Do you really understand what a bonus is, especially in a year like this? Do you know what bonuses were last year for the people who were partners in Goldman Sachs? Salary.
On a company before
Sure. Yeah.
call them up and ask for
Oh, no, honey. No, 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 no. You go to the library. You know what Cadman Plaza Business Library is? Make that your second home. They have internet access, they have Morningstar, they have S&P Index, they have Moody's Index. All of these are company indexes. Learning about the industry and about the corporations. You've got to start reading and studying and really getting involved in the learning process here. It's a fascinating game. Okay.
What are your views on like CDs, bank CDs? What do you think about them?
I don't. I hate them. It's a great place to stick money if you want to do some short-term savings, but once you really get financially comfortable and you have enough money saved, the only reason that you use the bank, as far as I'm concerned, is to keep some emergency savings there, and you put it in a money market rather than a CD, because the interest rate on a money market is probably better than CDs, because the drawback to a CD is you're locked in. And if you have to break the CD, you have to pay a penalty. The bank has only one purpose for me. It's a place to put money so I can write checks and get cash out of the ATM machine. But when you begin to really have money, what you will find is you end up consolidating all of your accounts in one place, and that's where the financial services industry is moving today. I personally have everything consolidated for me outside of Citibank, which I use for checking. Everything of mine is at Waterhouse Securities. Waterhouse has a great money market. They have their own bank. It's not a well-known bank because they offer the banking services as part of the brokerage business. But they have 4,000 different mutual funds for me to invest in. They offer the opportunity to move my money from my checking account into buying stocks. I do all of this online on the internet. They've got an ATM card so that if I'm traveling and I need money out of the account, I can just stick my card in the machine and get it out. Real sophisticated investors are moving towards doing most of their services out of these kinds of accounts at brokerage firms, where you can do everything and have all the financial functions, including your Visa card, your bill paying services, your stocks, your money market fund, all in one place like that. We really are moving towards a consolidated society. Why do you think Citibank merged with Travelers Insurance and Primerica? Because they want to expand the services that they offer as an investment company. They're getting away from being just a checking company and just a bank. Yes, ma'am.
Do you believe Travelers is a good investment?
I'm nervous about the size of it right now. I really am. I would not say it's not a good investment. Huh? Oh, her question is whether Travelers is a good investment. I'm nervous about the size of it and the restructuring. But I cannot say that it's a bad idea because Citibank was my last official full-time employer. I have not had a 9-to-5 job since 1991 when I said, I've had enough of this, I'm sick of you. And they started doing, frankly, I'll be honest, I was supposed to have gotten a promotion which I deserved, and even my boss, who was white, said, I'm leaving the company and I think you should too. I said, why? He said, because I recommended my job. I recommended you for my job because you got far more knowledge, experience, and expertise than anybody else in this group, and I think you deserve to have this position. And his answer was, but they won't even discuss it because you don't fit the role model. He said, now you can sit here for the next 6 months or a year and figure out whether they're going to change their minds or not, but I'm not going to. He left in August, and sure enough, I sat there until January, and I saw his job get filled by somebody else who looked good in a blue suit, and I saw another guy get another position that I was qualified for, and I said, okay, that's the handwriting on the wall. But, you see, you got to anticipate that some point in your life, this is probably going to happen. What I did do, because you see, as a broker, I still believe in doing exactly what I preach to everybody else. I was at Citibank during that time in the late 80s when they were losing money like crazy, when all of the mortgages were defaulting, all of those international loans. We used to have what they call the ABCD workout list: Argentina, Brazil, Chile, and Donald Trump. You know, all of that bad debt was getting written off. The stock price was going down, 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 down. And as brokers, you see, those of us who were brokers in the bank, we knew how to gamble and play this. And I said, okay, who wants to bet that it's going to drop below $10 a share? I put in a buy order, and this is what you can do with a brokerage account. If you think a stock is going to go down, you open your account and you tell a broker, you open what is called a GTC account. It's called GTC, good till canceled. And this is a buy order that they will hold for open for 90 days. I put in a GTC order to buy 300 shares when Citibank dropped below 10. I got it at 9 1/4. 300 shares at 9 1/4. Fine. Guess what? When I decided to leave, I kept the stock. It was working its way back up. So over the last couple of years, I have financed part of my restructuring of my life by selling off Citibank stock. I started selling it when it hit 65. Need I tell you it's been comfortable since then? So this is how you build a portfolio, and this is why you buy these stocks and you study what's going on. And banking is like that. All industries are like that. They go through these cycles. You have to learn how to read the cycles. The down cycles don't last, but then the ups, you know, the ups go up. And last thing I'll tell you, I started on Wall Street October '72. And one of those prophetic things that happens on the morning when you're walking through a new place and a new experience, you look around and you sort of have this memory impressed upon you that never quite disappears. The thing that was impressive to me, and I never forgot this, the stock market, and we talk about the Dow Jones average, The Dow Jones average opened at 825 points that morning. Yesterday, it closed at 9,043. 26 years of long-term growth. That's what has given me the cushion to get out and do what I want. And what I have wanted to do ever since I was in college was to write. And just to give you a shift, that's why my second book is this. See, most of you don't even know about this one. I have wanted to do other things, and I am doing an investment portfolio, so I didn't want to die at 65 or 90 or wherever, and I didn't want to wait until I was 75 to start doing what I wanted to do. So basically, in 1991, when I quit that job, I left. I was 46 years old. I said I got enough money to support myself for 3 years, because I don't want to wake up at 50 and say I never tried doing what I want to do. And I felt like I had enough to try it. The rest is history. So who's got more questions? Come on, guys, this is your chance. Yes, ma'am.
In your book, it's a chapter. I don't remember what chapter it is, but I'm in debt up to here.
That's not fatal. It's not permanent either.
Right. And you said that you were speaking on harassment and garnishing.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing is, I was thinking about bankruptcy, and in the chapter it's mentioned that if you're being garnished
Mm-hmm.
from creditors
Mm-hmm.
paycheck, that can affect you for 10 years. That's
No, bankruptcy affects you for 10 years.
But it says like the record of such legal action will stay in your credit report for 10 years.
Mhm.
As far as garnishing your wages.
No, that stays on for 7 years.
Oh,
But the bankruptcy filing stays on for 10.
so what's the difference? So if it
Well,
comes
it's
to
3
that-
years difference.
But if it comes to that point of having your wages being garnished,
Mhm.
why not just consider bankruptcy?
No, because what you should do, and this is, you know, when you get to the garnishment,
I'm not at that point.
no, but when you get to that, don't let it get to that. That's why you go to a consumer credit counselor and sit down and have somebody do that work out for you.
It's still a lot.
It doesn't matter, honey. No. What you really want to do, and I know when you're under a mountain of debt, you feel like I'm never going to be able to breathe free again. But trust me, it does not have to be permanent, is not fatal. The reason you go to a consumer credit counselor is have them negotiate for you, get those people off your back, and stop calling you. Good. So you've gotten the first part done. And from here on, it's really about learning from your mistakes. And one of my favorite people who's on Sunday morning is Reverend Stanley. Reverend Stanley is right. He says, if you get out too quick, you forget what happened. So you got to do the sacrifice, learn from the mistakes, use this period to really reassess your ideas, your attitudes, and your behavior with money. And you know why you got in that trouble in the first place? And as you work your way out, you're learning, and you also knowing that you want something more than just the quick hit from the credit cards. And half that stuff you bought, you probably don't remember what you
I
got.
don't know what I did.
Exactly. Yeah. See, I love her because she's at least honest enough to say, I don't know how this happened. But it happens to everybody. The point is, you're young enough to start over and build on that. And the habits that you get from this, the lessons that you get from this, will stay with you for the rest of your life. The point is, for each check that you write paying off a bill, when you finish paying those bills, fine, reward yourself, congratulate yourself, give yourself a big hug, but you keep writing those checks, and this time put it into savings and investing. Because you can do it just on that simple basis. And I'll give you an example of somebody who really did the most incredible job of working her way out. You ever heard of this woman, Mary Hunt? She's got these little books out called The Cheapskate Monthly, you know, the best of being a cheapskate. Do you know what Mary's story is? Mary was a real estate broker. Her husband had a business. They owned a boutique. They had real estate. They had all this stuff. And she had $122,000 of credit card debt. She could have filed bankruptcy. But she said, Lord, I need help. I want to at least feel good about myself and do the right thing. And she literally sat down, and she didn't go to a counselor. She wrote her letters herself And she just wrote a letter to everybody and said, I don't have any more money. I really cannot afford this. Close my accounts, and if you'll work with me, if you will take $10 a month, I will work it off. And that's what she did. She wrote Cheapskate Monthly based on her experience, honey. She paid off all that debt.
So what about the interest rate? Did they lower?
You can negotiate.
Oh, so
See, half the time your creditors just want you to respond. If you just call them back,
instead of dodging them.
exactly, exactly. The adult thing to do is say, okay, I made a mistake. What can we do to work this out? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everybody's not perfect, because as much as I travel and all I do, half the time the mortgage doesn't get there until, you know, it's like 2 weeks before it's late, or rather 2 days before it's late. And of course, you know, Citibank calls on the, is there a reason the money hasn't? I said, yeah, I'm not home. I forgot. I've got the money. And she says, well, you want to put it on automatic? No, I don't want it on automatic payment. I don't want you attaching my account. I don't want you to even have anything to do with it. But the point is, sometimes you make a mistake. And I even had the woman laughing. She says, well, why do you always wait until the 14th or 15th to pay the mortgage? I said, because you let me. I said, you let me do it. She said, well, you know, it's really due the first. I said, no, no, no. You don't understand. Consumer psychology is, unless it's really due the 16th, you're not going to get it until the 15th or 16th. I'm going to keep it in my hands. But get the discipline of paying your bills on time. And when you get ready to buy a house, believe it or not, if you pay off all that debt and you can show them, look, I was under this badly. I tried, I worked it out, I cleaned up my life, they will know that you will be a responsible person, and you will get people helping you to get a mortgage, because you can show that you did hang in there and do the right thing and pay off your bills. All right? Yes, Juan?
What are your views on consolidating?
Consolidating is only a good idea if you're going to cut up the plastic. It's not going to accomplish anything if you're going to keep the credit cards and just run them back up again, because, you know, you pay them off and you got one big bill over here that's a lower interest rate. But if you still got the credit cards, and with Christmas coming, everybody is subject to going out there and doing that madness again. You know, I call Christmas the holiday ambush, because you end up spending, the average person spends $800 to $1,000 over the Christmas season. And I'm talking about not just the gifts you buy. Think about the parties you go to, the travel that you make. You know, like I'm going home to see my mother. That's $400 right there on the plane ticket. The decorations, the parties, the Christmas cards, the Kwanzaa cards, all of that. You add up what you spend over that 3-week period during Christmas. Average person uses a credit card and they get into anywhere from $700 to $1,000 worth of debt. And that's how you really build the debt, because you say, well, you know, I can handle that $100 minimum a month. Well, by the time you pay that down, you've added other things during the year, you never totally get out. So consolidation is not a good idea unless you're going to really have the discipline to do some plastic surgery. Now, I don't mean on your face, I mean on the cards. I got a funny clue that a little thing that I put in my new book. I call it the Kool-Aid Cure. Some people who can't quite deal with cutting up the cards. That's well good. You make a picture of grape Kool-Aid, put the credit cards inside there, put them in the freezer. You know why I say grape? Because then you can't read the numbers through the and you know, and you cannot, if you put the Kool-Aid into the microwave, that strips the magnetic computerized code off the back of the card. So you can't use it. Money is the test of being an adult. That's what it is. Money is the real test of being an adult. Now, yes, ma'am.
Yes, establishing credit, say credit history, because they don't have any.
Mm-hmm.
I was told that you can use your phone bill,
Yep.
light bill,
Mm-hmm.
gas bill.
Yes, and if you can come up with, say, $200 or $300, you can get what is called a secured card. You start with a secured card. For people who are starting over, who've made mistakes, who've had to close accounts and pay them off, a secured card is a great place to begin, because what you do is you apply for a credit card, and the amount of money that you put into the savings account is the amount of credit that they give you. So if you have $300 or $400 or $500 that you can put into a savings account, they will give you a credit card for an equal amount of $500. You pay that off, use it through the year, pay your bill on a regular basis, and after a year they review you and then they will increase your credit. And if you have done well, they'll probably give you your money back.
Because I have a loan right now that I took out for school.
Mhm.
Someone was telling me that I could go to the bank, have them pay off the loan, and then pay back the bank, and use that.
That's not a good idea unless the interest rate is lower. And if you got a loan from, what's your interest on your student loan?
No, I can't. It depends on the term that you, because I didn't get it from here, I got it from the country I came from.
Uh-huh.
It depends on the time span you want
Mhm.
to pay that loan back.
Mhm.
It depends, that's how you would get it.
Okay, well, look at your interest rate. Because if the interest rate on the student loan is higher than what the interest rate would be on a loan that you would get here, then you go for the cheaper interest.
Okay.
Because if you can get a loan here for, say, 8 or 9% and you're paying 12%, fine. That's 3% interest that you can save and you probably get out of debt sooner. But if it's equivalent, don't bother. All right?
Okay, thanks.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if anyone has asked this question or not, but why is it, and usually people of color, why is it that we always say we can't afford to save?
Because nobody's told us that we can do it this way. It's really, I think a lot of it's just exposure. Exposure, lack of awareness, and we just got to get curious. We don't show enough curiosity about what's happening in the world of money because we always think that it's not for us. But as far as I'm concerned, money is green. And the real effort and attitude has to come from you. The one thing about money is nobody's going to sit you down and grab you by the hair and say, look, you've got to learn this. And unfortunately, the school of hard knocks and trial and error can take an awfully long time.
This would be the last question.
Okay.
I just want to know what you think about the merger between Citibank and America. Do you think that,
I think it's going to be a mess.
I'm thinking